What I heard was if you go to an agency, it's 1 year of experience in agency equal to 3 years elsewhere because you're forced to learn. And I was like, I am going for agency role. And I remember I got accepted to two roles, but the company I joined, the SVP or the EVP of the department pulled me aside, says, guess what? We never hire VPs with zero agency experience, despite your track record, right? You are director, you lead large teams, you have global, all the analytics and et cetera, but you don't have agency experience, you know? So we never hire people in the VPs. Tell me why I should hire you.
Welcome to 99 Humans. My name is Jeff LaCosta, curious coach and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, striving to understand how little things generate big impact.
And I'm Nadia Carta, tech executive and lifestyle coach with a mission to transform lives and corporations by kindling hearts to generate a zeal for life.
Each week, we investigate stories about the human side of leadership to re-energize your spirit and help you become a stronger leader.
Because the reality is that leadership is messy, goofy, challenging, but always human.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Let's dive in.
Hello.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for your patience. I don't know how I got the time mixed up today. I've been up for hours, so it's been a very long day already.
If you need a break for some water and restroom, we want you to be comfortable, please.
I'm good. Today's Friday. I'm always good on Friday. So both of you pick really good times.
Well, thank you for carving out time on a Friday because it is precious. So we're excited to chat more. You are a pretty fabulous leader here. That part of our idea is, gosh, you have intimidating folks who've accomplished so much in their careers and have done big things and fancy resumes, and yours is certainly glittering with your own companies that you've worked for and things that you've done. But also, we know that you're still a human being, so it's funny to start on the note that we are. So thank you for spending some energy here because it's a precious thing.
Well, it's my delight and honor to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here and talk and chat. I have followed Nadia for a while, obviously reading a lot of newsletters, and I have also listened to some of your 99 Human episodes. Love them. It's just we don't have enough of those. So anytime we can share the zeal, share the positive energy, it's I'm all games. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, amazing. Well, Jing, why don't we start by saying what are you up to these days?
Oh, well, you asked a very good question. I'm actually at a very interesting time in my career. So I last year, for those of you who don't know me, maybe I should start there. So I have been working for over 24 years, have tons of experience on the tech side, and then working for very large companies. Then I moved to advertising and marketing agencies. From those experiences, that's the last 14 years or so, I have worked with amazing brands. I'm going to say across more than 10 different industries. And some of your most loved and reputable brands I have worked with, and I've led large teams. So last year, I took on a role with a smaller company. It's called Skyrocket Studios. It's a full service marketing agency, and I was their North America CEO, as well as leading their data analytics globally. So there are some things I'm really proud of what I've accomplished in that short period of time, because both the company in the US market have led a number of very large global pitches, and also have grew the company, essentially prepared to be a regional company to compete on a global stage. And so as of June, and through the various experiences, through what I've gained, what I realized is that I actually would like to go back to the corporate world. It's a better fit for me. I loved being in a smaller company, an international company, and the experience of leading as a CEO role is, I have learned tremendously. At the same time, when I look at the company, I'm quoting from the global CEO himself, he's like, "We're kind of not ready for you." That was his own role. His words is like, if we grew bigger in in US in the future, maybe in a few years, then if you're still available, we'd love to have you come back. Because when we actually chatted, it was something that he entered the US market earlier than expected because we chatted. So through that, I think right now I'm actually in a stage where um, I'm looking and talking to a lot of people in my network and finding out, hey, what can I help you with? What are the things that's bothering you? And is there anything related to data analytics, operation transformation, or you can say digital transformation, AI, machine learning, or just in general leadership that I can talk to you or help with and that I can offer from my experience? Because that's something that I'm doing with the consultancy I started last year, which is called Amazing Consulting. And so those are projects that I am doing, which I'm one of the things in my career is I love helping people. So that's one thing I like to do. Another thing is if there is a right fit in the corporate world, if it's the right opportunity, I think I'll definitely consider, and I definitely love to, compete for those as well. But it's really looking at the right opportunities. So I'll stop there for a second
I'm curious,
and to see
Jing.
if you have any questions.
Well, congratulations, first off, on a big decision that requires a ton of courage and knowledge and self-awareness about what makes you happy to pursue what some may consider, kind of the reverse trajectory of, okay, I know I want to get back into the corporate world. For some listeners, for me, I'm actually preparing to leave the corporate world here in just a couple of weeks. And I'm actually curious to unpack a little bit about that self-awareness. What about you makes that kind of corporate world a good fit? Because I think that's something that maybe we don't talk enough about is there's a lot of amazing things about big companies, but what about you makes them amazing?
Yeah, you asked a very good question. I actually came to the same, you can say, the junction last year when I left the corporate world before I took on the 3 month sabbatical and joined Skyrocket. Because I've always worked in corporate world, various different sides. I've led very large teams, manage accounts that's in the billions, all right, and all global teams, very large teams. One of the reasons that I left the corporate world, I think, was really at the time of how it was not the role itself, or maybe the position itself was not the right fit. I think I was really burning out. And I was like, well, I've been here. I've done this for many, many years. I've done this already. What else can I do? So this is about life, right? A lot of times I think we look at life and then we say, hey, I don't know what's out there, but I'm not ready or I don't want to, right? You are waiting for someone to hand you the answer. And I'm very grateful. Took a very unconventional decision last year to leave a very um, high visible, well paid job and to say, I'm taking a break. I just want to pause and I want to see what's going on. I want to spend more time with my family. And so through that, and I was like, well, I've always wondered what's it like to work for a smaller company or to really to be in not as a leader for a department, but leader for a whole company, right? So, and through the last, you can say almost a year, I have touched on every single department, right? With a very good international company and influence and build frameworks and really spearheaded the growth. So and through this discovery, I also realized there are differences between corporate world and then in a more entrepreneur type of roles. Corporate world, what you get to be part of, I'm sure Nadia, you can relate to, which is you get to be part of projects that's bigger, right? Either more funding or more resources or the type of people you get to work. But ultimately, it's a project they're more strategic, they're more influential, and also you make bigger impacts. So those are the things that I appreciate. And there are things I think in the corporate world, not all the corporate world is the same. So I'll talk a little bit more about that because I shared with you before, I was in the tech side, I was in the consulting side, then, agency side, brand side. I do think that different companies offer different type of experiences. There's pros and cons across every single industry, and you need to be very aware of it. So for me, again, I can share more, but I do have a personal philosophy on the type of roles that I'm intentionally fighting for and intentionally looking for, including the type of contribution I can impact. So hope that answer your question where corporations as a whole, I think they bring a lot, right? More established roles. So I kind of miss that right now.
It seems, Jing, that you've done so much soul searching in the past 2 years, but correct me if I'm wrong. And
It's about a year. Yeah, sure.
okay, a year. I'm wondering how those events that eventually some were in your control, some others were out of your control, shaped the type of leader that you are now for your people. And if you have a story, a specific story that thinking back, you're like, oh yeah, that moment is the moment where I knew that I wanted to change.
That's a good question. So I think at least for the first 10 years of my career, I was good at what I was doing. So I graduated with computer science and joined the leading consulting company, Capgemini Ernst& Young, as a technical consultant, as a developer. And I was assigned to the biggest account in the US market on Wall Street, JP Morgan. So, and then within a year, actually within the first 6 months, I was selected as one of the junior consultants to represent the entire region in United States to join their conference in France. So it's only 5 consultants out of the entire country people hired. So that was the start of my career. I was going to be a developer. I was going to be a database architect, and I worked with very large data, and I was good at what I was doing, but for somehow I don't think I was very, very happy. Or because when you work as a developer, you don't really interact with people as much. So then
Could I
through
interrupt for a quick minute? Is there a moment where you realized that? Because quite frankly, I think a lot of people are unhappy and still never make a decision to change. So what
yeah
was it that
it
actually pushed you maybe over the edge?
yeah so I think there's some that's serendipitously that happens to you. There are others that you learn, right? And I wish I learned this earlier, to
Mm.
be honest, because the during that time I was going to go from a computer science graduate degree. I took classes with Columbia at night, and I was like, well, I could do the work, I could get the grades, but I'm just really arduous. This feels arduous. Everything feels, I can do the work, but it feels like there's something more. And the entire project got relocated to Houston. They moved the entire project. They like, Jing, we would love to have you, move to Houston with us. I just got engaged, so I was like, well, no, thank you. I'm staying here. My future husband is going to be here. So it was quite interesting because during the time while I was applying for jobs, but I wasn't seriously applying because you're planning for the wedding. There's honeymoon afterwards. So there was a position at New York Times. It's a 6 weeks consulting engagement, and then it's a digital analyst role. They say, hey, we want someone to come temporarily 6 weeks. I'm like, great, extra cash for the wedding. So I went, and within the first week, the head of marketing pulled me to the office and says, Jane, we would love to have you here full time. We have hired many, many, many contractors in this role, but if I hire someone technical, they cannot talk to all the people on the business side. They cannot explain their work. They cannot guide people. But when I hire someone who's with business background, without the technical, without the analytical skills, they can do the work. You blew us out of water. We will give you the higher salary for this role, but we know we probably cannot match your salary, because at the time I was already a senior consultant with Capgemini, so earning very good salary. but I loved the job.
Mm.
I loved working with hundreds of people. I loved to be able to shape how the company was. So that was actually serendipitously my entry into marketing, my entry into complete change of industry. And this is actually not too new or rare for people that actually, if you're thinking about digital marketing 10, 15 years ago, that's actually a lot of colleagues I talk to, especially, people similar to my age. They're like, yeah, we never took digital marketing school. I never took digital marketing analytics in school. That back then there's no Adobe Analytics, was still Omniture,
Not many
or that
kids
just
grow
started.
up passionate about ads.
Yeah, you're right. Nobody, right? Like, so I learned everything, right? And I mean, I learned what I was good at. And so, I completely transformed their system and eventually went from New York Times to leading the analytics department globally for Thomson Reuters, or for Reuters Media. So it was in 17 countries. I was leading analytics and working with all those different people. So that role was still in a similar track. And it's like, I want to be now a manager role. I want to have global capacity. And then within that company, within Thomson Reuters, I was elected as a HIPPO employee, which is top performing 2% of the company, which means the company will promote you to have at least 2 to 3 opportunities in executive or mid-management to executive within 5 years. So I got promoted to the director of business intelligence within Thomson Reuters, another division, the financial division. So during the Reuters and Thomson Reuters side, one of the things that I realized was um, I needed more learning. I'm really good at my work, but every day I talk to the head of department for every single head, right? Like head of strategy, head of creative, head of product, including our presidents. I'm making decisions, all of them. But I want to know how business work. So I took a challenge, which is very unthinkable at the time, because I went to pursue my executive MBA while working full time, while have one child at home, and while pregnant. So with a second. So yeah. So when I went to enter my 20-month program, I was 4 months pregnant. I gave birth to Brendan, my second child, during the second semester.
A glutton for
So
punishment here.
yeah, yeah, and because I mean, it's a long story on why the unfortunate time and etc. But that experience taught me a lot of things, which is I knew I needed to learn something. I knew I wanted to learn more of the business, right? How the rest of the functions work, and I really want to pursue that degree. But at the same time, I don't have the luxury to completely go off and work on the MBA as a full time.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Jing?
Sure.
Because like you've been running all of your career basically, and this is very common for a lot of women. I'm gonna drop one of my bombs. I've been studying all about masculine ways of leading and females' way of leading. Guess what? Men can lead in a feminine way, and then women can lead in a masculine way. And women, we've been leading in a masculine way. So the masculine way is doing, 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 doing. Always like running, 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 executing, operating, like da 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 da. So they basically say is the leading way, the leading by doing, whereas the feminine way is leading by attracting and becoming more that agent that attract things in the world, and they lead in that way. So I'm wondering, when you think about yourself and you look back and all of this life, and now suddenly you're in a moment where you have more space, if you were to define what is your ideal leadership style that you want to step into, which would that be?
I think for me, after going through a lot of different roles, leading very different type of companies, and leading different type of teams, as well as working with both good and challenging clients, my leadership style a lot of times is really looking at the bigger picture, looking at what is the common goal we're trying to achieve, right? What's the best? What do we want? Is it this is for the client, for the company? What is the common goal? What is the common thread? What's the most important thing? Then looking at what is the core thing I should be doing as a leader. And then in my mind, a leader is setting a bigger vision, right? It's not telling the team how to climb the ladder as soon as possible. My role is to make sure that ladder is leaned against the right wall, right?
Mm.
So that is my role, because I don't want a team to work frantically and then get on the top and says, oops, it's a wrong project, right? Or it's not, it's trivial. So and another thing is my leadership style is, doesn't matter what kind of differences we have, we can work together. So I've sort of developed a reputation. I don't know if it's good or bad, which I tend to have clients or accounts. I get them that are either extremely big, some of the largest accounts, or the ones that usually encounter some kind of challenge. Either the team is not happy with internal, or the client is not happy, or something that it's very, very high risk, or there's some challenge, and then say, Jane, please turn it around. Like, we give it to you, somehow you can turn it around, right? And I'm always willing to listen, and I love to listen, to say, okay, doesn't matter what it is, tell me. And so focus on the bigger picture, working with people. And internally, I'm extremely protective of my team. I tell my team that if you did something wrong, it's my responsibility. Well, it's your responsibility as well as my responsibility, even though if I have never touched I have not looked at a page what you send. But if you deliver something and if you're on my team, you send something that's under the quality that we ultimately want, I'm responsible just as much as you are responsible, right? But externally, I will take that responsibility, and you won't be there. I won't throw you out there to the wolves, right? You won't take all the blame or etc. I will take that blame with you. However, internally, I will be very honest with you. If you are excelling, if you are doing well, I will praise you like crazy. I love to see my team grow. And however, if there are things that you can improve, I will tell you. I will tell you gently. Because if I don't do that, I'm not doing you justice. I'm not a good leader.
What does the
Because
Americans say? What did they say? Praise in public and
rebuke or encourage, or I don't know, something private.
well, there's a thing that says praise in public and discipline in private, something like that.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good way to summarize that. That's a really good way to summarize that. Yeah.
Jing, what you're describing are all reasons why you're so successful at whatever you do. And it amazes me as you tell some of almost like the chronological story of successes from computer science to first roles in digital marketing, promotions, standing out, top 2%, succeeding, thriving. It all makes sense to me. And I've never heard that analogy that you used. I love the visual of like helping make sure the ladder is leaning on the right wall. Because I think that ironically, as a strength as a leader, is also a strength of yours as a human being. Because I hear you not just climbing the next rung in the ladder, but changing which wall that your ladders are leaning against. And you're not going down to the floor each time. You're in the sky, changing the ladder and then going up and then changing the ladder again. And I think so much about this of like, there's so much inertia involved in our careers and our lives. And I hear you saying you've really become a master of overcoming inertia. You're not just going to climb that next rung. You're going to move the ladder and then start climbing again and move the ladder and climb again. And I'm curious if it's gotten any easier, because now in retrospect, maybe it's just a 20-minute convo. It sounds so easy. But like, is it still as hard as it was in that first computer science decision? Or have you learned any lessons now that you've done it a few times?
I actually think it's got harder because the type of challenges that I am shooting for, or the type of the roles I'm shooting for, are more competitive, right? However, it's very interesting. I do want to go back to an earlier point, Jeff. You were asking of what was a turning point. I think the most conscious point that I made in terms of navigating my career in a proactive way, right? Other than the executive MBA that I took as education, is after I took the degree, I consciously made a decision to go to an agency job.
Mm.
Because what I heard was if you go to an agency, it's 1 year of experience in agency equal to 3 years elsewhere because you're forced to learn. And I was like, I am going for agency role. And I remember I got accepted to 2 roles, but the company I joined, the SVP or the EVP of the department pulled me aside, says, guess what? We never hire VPs with 0 agency experience, despite your track record, right? You are director, you lead large teams, you have global, all the analytics and etc. But you don't have agency experience, you know. So we never hire people in the VPs. Tell me why I should hire you. And I was like, well, last 20 months, what I did was I got my graduate degree, I got a promotion, I had a baby, and I have another baby. So in the 2, and on top of it, I can do this, right? I will learn whatever I need to learn, but I can deliver, right? Under whatever the circumstance. But this is something I chose. And one of the reasons why I also choose that, a conscious decision, is I started thinking my career in the type of things that what I can give, like contribution, and what I can learn. So in an earlier part of the career, when you're just out of college, you tend to probably can contribute 20% because you had the right degree, but there's 80% that you need to learn, right? In the mid journey of your career, maybe it's like a 50-50, right? So you're a manager, you still learn a lot, but then you can give more. So a lot of the roles, there are roles that I took, it is the right role, but I was unhappy. I was like, well, I am giving 99% here. I'm learning 1% because everything I'm doing, I have already done. There's nothing new here. And so I don't think those roles are good fits. So this is why a lot of times when I look at decisions, I was like, now my stage is maybe a 75%, 25%. There's a lot I can offer because of all the experiences I can offer. I can provide impact 75%. But there's other 25% I feel like, hey, I can learn from here and I can tell you why I want to learn it. I can tell you things that's related that I already have done my homework, but I would love to have this experience, right? So
It's almost like
hopefully
a
that,
give and get all the time. It's you give, you get, and then it also depends on phase of lives and phase of jobs.
yeah, it's definitely it's not that straight decision. I wish it's almost somebody lay a path in front of you and says, here you go,
Going to
here's a zigzag
easy.
that you go, right? No, it's not like that. And as women, as a mother, there's careers that I've done that I have led very large teams, and I've consciously chose roles with very few direct reports, but still very high impact roles, which is saying, you know what, I need to dial back here. I want to do a good job. I want to do this, but I'm not at a stage where I have so much energy to manage a very large team, right? So you just be very honest with yourself and then recognize that, yes, there are challenges with both men and women at different stages. But I think as women executives, especially as a mother, through the giving birth and all that stage, the challenge is harder. There's certain stages. So it's okay. I think we just need to be very honest with ourselves and then recognize that, because one of my good friend tells me and says, Jing, you know what? There's no one else is going to raise your kids for you, right? I can do a great job at a company and do all of that, but guess what? My kids are growing, right? And then no one else will raise them. I'm their mother, right? So um, but I think being a mom, being an executive, there is a lot of benefits. There's a lot of cross collaboration come with it. I mean, Nadia, I saw you posting about your daughter, and being a mom make me a more empathetic leader, and then being a leader actually makes me a better mom at home, too. And I can give countless examples of that. So, but I love it. Yeah, I love both.
It's fascinating how time flies when we're on the show, and we are literally in the last few minutes. And so, a question that Jeff and I always ask to all of our guests is, what is your word of advice for our listeners?
Hmm. So my life model, which I have through the self discovery, this has been my life model in the last 10 years or so, which is compete with yourself, and help each other. So the only person that can make you happy is yourself. It's your attitude and how you live the day. They are challenges thrown at you. You may lose a job. I see the market is very tough. Something happen in your health, something happen in your family. It's a way you choose to live. And life is all about self-improvement and self-discovery, right? You understand what uniquely make you you. And like everybody's so precious. Everybody have so much to give. Don't try to be imitating to be someone else. Don't envy someone else's life because you have no idea what that person went through, right? To get there. Always compete yourself and always help each other. And I'm always cheering for other people's successes. I cheer for my teammates. I cheer for my colleagues. I cheer for my managers. Whatever I can do, I will cheer for them. But one thing is, I'm looking at myself as, what can I do more? What can I do different? And last thing is, be kind to yourself and rest as needed. And because I think rest is a way for us to go further. We're running a marathon. Life is a journey. It's not about a single destination. It's actually the journey along the way. So that's it. Never stop learning.
Well, Jing, we're certainly going to be cheering for you along the way as well. And if people want to connect with you online, how can folks find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. That's the best way. I'm actually the only Jing Suk in the world. The reason I know,
yes, you
is
are.
I have a Google alert on my name, and I'm the only Jing Suk in the world. I have a Chinese first name and I have a Korean last name because through marriage. And yeah, I'm the only Jing Suk in the world. So if they type Jing Suk on Google, they will find me on LinkedIn. And it's short enough for people to remember. So drop a net line, and I'm happy to connect.
It's so wonderful because we could have spoken of so many other themes, clearly cultural upbringing and all of that, but maybe that would be another episode.
I would love to come on and to talk about other things. And both of you are amazing. And Jeff, I've seen the books, the drawings, and Nadia, you're just constantly amazed me with all the things that you do, both professionally and what you share with your family. And I'm just thrilled to be here and share. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Aww.
What a great conversation. That was inspiring. It's funny how where you are in life, I always go through these interviews so differently and pick up on different things. But certainly,
I know every guest has been bringing their own magic.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Nadia, the question, what are you taking away from that conversation?
So many. I really like that ladder example. I feel that you liked it too. I know you like metaphors.
Yeah.
And really the role of a leader when you think about that ladder, it's not to climb the ladder for others, but to ensure that either there's the right ladder or there's the right wall where the ladder is leaning over. And I really loved when you said, well, you are building new walls as well. That was very inspiring. What about you, Jeff?
I'll just pick up from that. And I think then the feelings attached to that really resonated with me. And I loved, and it was sort of surprising to me that she goes, actually, it's getting harder, not easier, to move the ladder because there's so much more life. Her children are getting older. She has children when she didn't have children. She's going for harder, more difficult jobs that there are fewer of. And yet I find it inspiring that she's the CEO of a successful multinational corporation, and she is leaving that role to go pursue moving the ladder to some other wall. So I think that it's inspiring to talk to somebody who's made so many intentional decisions with their life and their career and continues to, while telling it like it is, that these are hard things. These don't come easily or get any easier. In fact, she's sharing that it gets harder, which I think is still, all that much more inspiring.
I'll say something that is very unpopular, but when you are in the early days of your careers, like when you are in your 20s and in your 30s, and you look up and you see all these VPs and presidents and CEOs, you're like, oh, that's the life I want to live, and all of that. And then you approach that as we grow and as we mature. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know you, but sometimes, you look at them as like, yeah, actually, I'm not sure I want to be that, because it's rough at the top.
Yeah.
It's extremely rough.
I think it's hard. It's funny because she mentioned this. It feels like we're training human beings through school, basically. I mean, I might blame that. Just to do the things in front of them. School is such a structured, get good grades, go to class at this time, now go to these classes, now go good grades here, now go get this degree, now there's a degree above that, do you want that? And then you enter your career and the rest of your life, and there's no steps in front of you, except you see the rung above you and go, well, clearly that's what I should do, is climb that. And we're all slowly unlearning things we learned as children and realizing there is no structure, and that actually we might be happier not doing the stepping stone that somebody laid out in front of us and turning around and going a different direction altogether.
I really like, you nailed it again, Jeff. It's about that. It's about really decoding all of the systems and instructions that we've been receiving, and then see, okay, what is it that would fulfill my soul and that I want to do? And again, that I love money that pays the bills, because we also, as we said earlier, get to honor that safety that is at the base of our pyramid in life.
I love it.
Oh, Jeff, I missed you
Good
so much.
convo. Well, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, please give us a like, a follow, a 5-star review. We are so excited to be approaching the last 25% of this journey to 99. So thanks for joining us, for listening today, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. We love seeing you. Bye-bye.